Good afternoon, welcome to NMS. So many years ago, when I first started training, I made a very strong decision to stay natural. And it was a decision that I don't actually think was a bad decision for me. I made that decision because I did enjoy training and I loved going to the gym and I loved, being stronger. But I never really wanted to go and, feel the need to take something to help me win a competition, okay? Besides supplements, besides obviously having, good supplements that, would help me to build muscle. Outside of that, I made the decision that I was going to stay natural. Now, does that mean that I think that, I'm better than everyone else that does steroids? No. People make a decision and they go with it. Does that mean I think I have a better physique than people on steroids? No. I know that I've built a decent physique and some people look up to it, some people look down on me and go, you're too skinny, you're too small. All right, fair enough, But that's people's own sort of wants and obviously their own sort of expectations playing out, okay? So I don't really have a problem with necessarily people using steroids, but I make a decision that for me, they weren't what I wanted to do, okay? So I decided that I was going to compete in natural competitions. I found natural competitions and I decided I was going to be the best I could be in natural competitions. Now, am I the best natural bodybuilder in the world? Well, no. Would I like to be? I don't really have those ambitions of being the best in the world. I have the best ambitions of being the best version of myself that I can be, okay? Now, just because I didn't use steroids doesn't mean that I can't be the best version of myself for what I'm doing to achieve that, okay? Now, at 51 years old, I still compete. I still compete at the high level. I still compete with guys that are much younger than me. Sometimes I beat them, sometimes they beat me, all right? I haven't backed off on my training necessarily. Some things I don't do as much as I used to do, mainly for the fact that I'm just trying to avoid injury and be able to continue training, as I get older. And I don't want to be sort of, completely injured that I can't, for example, just go to the gym. So for me, staying natural was just a decision that made sense, okay? Now, do I ever look at some of those bodybuilders and think, oh wow, I'd love to look like that? Like Dorian Yates, I find it motivational, but I don't necessarily find that that is the person I necessarily want to look like. But I watch what he talks about. I listen to the lessons he's trying to give, and I use those lessons even as a natural bodybuilder. Now, people say, oh, you can't train like a person on steroids. Maybe you can't train as much. Maybe you can't do as much volume as someone on steroids. But let's face it, Dorian Yates is a prime example of someone. He never actually did a lot of volume, and yet he built a Mr. Olympia level physique. So to me, it seems like the intensity of the workout and then the recovery and then the nutrition is far more important, right, than doing the volume and the frequency and all those things. And definitely steroids help you to recover from a workout, but I think a lot of people, even with steroids, overtrain. But the problem is that they don't overtrain and not build muscle. The problem is they overtrain and potentially they get more injuries or they become ill, okay? Now, I'm fully aware of the effects of steroids. I know what they can do in terms of building a physique, and I also know what they can do in terms of, having side effects and potentially causing problems. And that was the original reason behind my decision, and also for the fact that I do know that the sort of personality I have, I don't think I'd be a nice person on steroids. I probably would be quite an aggressive person. I tend to control my competitiveness and my aggression, but if I'm pushed, I definitely have a temper. And I don't want to have lack of control on that temper, okay? And I do feel that guys that are on steroids, especially if they've got the wrong personality type, they do tend to have that temperament. And I've seen guys that are on steroids and they've lost their tempers in the gym, and they're very hard to control, They're very hard to control and they're very hard to go and bring down and calm down. They just don't want to calm down. And I do think it's a personality thing. So for me, it's also a decision as well that I'm married. My wife doesn't want to see me on steroids. My son certainly doesn't want to see me on steroids. I set an example for him. I set an example to my wife. Okay, I work hard. I have discipline, and I show my son I have discipline, and he takes that discipline, and I'm hoping that he respects the discipline, and he takes that same discipline and puts it into his chosen sport. But I don't really like in this day and age this new trend of very young guys getting on steroids quite young. Okay, it's definitely a trend that I'm not happy with in terms of watching it, and also in terms of the fact that, you know, if I'm trying to educate someone on how to train and they don't believe that I'm going to be able to tell them the right thing because I'm not as big as them, even though I've stayed natural and they're not, you know, it just generally becomes one of those things that, you know, the younger generation who's on steroids tends to be far more disrespectful of the previous generation because, well, they're getting bigger, you know, and us older guys who stay natural, we're not as big. And that can be a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, I'm still going to help to educate people to stay natural and to look after their health. Bodybuilding has given me a lot of things. It's given me strength, it's given me discipline, and it's given me a physique that is, for people who, you know, understand the work that goes into it, a lot of respect. And, you know, for those that obviously, you know, don't have that same respect for what I've done, that's fine. You know, that's their issues and they can deal with it themselves. But at the end of the day, I think that bodybuilding can be a very good thing regardless of whether you use steroids, but also you've got to remember that you're doing it for yourself. And when you do it for yourself, okay, you're not taking things for yourself, for other people, you're taking it for yourself. And if you're trying to be better than everyone in the gym, it's probably the worst mindset you can ever have. You've got to be better than you, and you've got to work hard to try and be better than you every day. Have a good one, guys. Like, comment, share. If you've got anything you want to add to this, by all means, you know, comment away. I'm going to leave this on TikTok as well as I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel. So if you want to comment on here, if you want to follow me on YouTube, that's where most of my long form videos are going these days, and my training videos. So follow me on there, but I'll leave it on this platform as well. Make comments here on TikTok, and I'll see you next time. Have a good afternoon.